Hi guys! So this is the second in my video series about querying, connecting with, and working with a literary agent. In case you missed my first video, I covered how to get a manuscript, query letter, and list of agents ready to begin the querying process. My journey to finding my agent, Carly Waters, who is wonderful and I've done 3 books with, was definitely long and windy. So I'm always happy to share what I've learned and my insights from that process. So today we're going to be talking about actually going through the querying process. So to recap, you have your complete and polished manuscript or book proposal ready to go. You have a punchy, thoughtful query letter that's personalized for every agent, and you have a well-researched list of agents who cover your genre and books like yours ready to go. So what happens now? So this is an exciting moment. You start sending out your query emails. I say email because 99.9% of querying is done via email in this day and age. Here we are, 2019, so probably not a lot of manuscripts going out in the mail. So this next part is exciting, but then it's usually a lot of hurry up and wait. So most agents will respond to queries eventually, and I know most agencies really try and get back to everyone. But again, I can't emphasize enough how many thousands of query letters most agents get. So definitely give it some time before you start following up. Be mindful of how many people they're likely hearing from. So I would say give it at least a month before you send any kind of follow-up. Of course, things do happen. Emails get accidentally deleted or end up in spam. So, it is okay to follow up after a period of time, but definitely give it a moment. And also be sure to check on that agent's website and social media before you follow up to see if they are still accepting queries or if something about their situation has changed. So if you need something to keep yourself busy during this time, God knows I always do, this is a great time to be working on things like your social media platforms. It's never too early to start on that kind of long-term marketing, or doing some industry research to really prepare yourself for the next stage, or building up your list if you are getting some no's rolling in, to really keep that momentum going with querying. Or best of all, you can keep writing. I can't emphasize enough how much continuing to write, working on new material, continuing to work on my craft all the way along through this process has really put me in good stead. So an inevitable part of the query process for almost every writer who goes through it is getting some rejections. So now these are hard. There's no doubt about it. You worked really hard on your manuscript. It feels very vulnerable to have it out in the world and be waiting to hear what people think of it. So this is a tough part, but it's definitely a fact of life as a writer. It doesn't stop when you get a book deal. There's a lot of emotional ups and downs to this career. And so this is a really good time to build up some resilience and get used to it. I will tell you, when I first went through the querying process when I was about 26 with a novel that did not eventually get published, I cried every single time I got a rejection letter. I know how hard this is. I will say by the time that I eventually hired my agent, Carly Waters, many tries later, when I got rejection letters, they bothered me for about 2 minutes and then I moved on. So it really does get easier the more that you do it. I think that some people really are looking to skip this process and they self-publish so that they don't have to go through this period of waiting and getting rejected. To be clear, I think there are some great reasons to self-publish. I just don't think this is one of them. I think rejection usually makes you a better and more resilient writer. So there are usually 2 main kinds of rejections that you're going to be getting, and they're very different. So the first is that form rejection letter, which is exactly what it sounds like, sort of a dear sir or madam type thing. And then there's the personal rejection letter, which actually can be very meaningful. So personal rejection letter will be a response from an agent where they give you some feedback on what they didn't like about the manuscript. Now, even if this is a pretty brief letter and includes only a few details, this is very meaningful. It means the agent took the time to read through your material and give you that feedback. So it almost certainly means that they think that your manuscript and you as a writer have some potential. So this is a great thing. It's a good sign that you're on the right track, and they can give you definitely some great feedback that can help you make some adjustments to your manuscript along the way. So hopefully at some point in this process, you will get some interest from some agents. So usually the first step of this looks like them asking for a full manuscript. Most agents in their submission guidelines request simply a query letter or a query letter and a synopsis and some sample chapters to begin with. So even them asking for the full manuscript, again, is a great positive sign. So what might happen next, and what happened for me when I was querying Carly, was a revise and resubmit. So what this is an agent's read your work and they have some notes on what they think you should change about the manuscript before they would want to take that next step to submit it to their editorial contacts. And so this is, in order to make sure that you are on the same page as they are about the direction of your novel or your book proposal, and also to make sure that you're capable of making those edits. This is something that's going to come into play in the next stage of your work with them when they're submitting to editors, because everyone has, their own stamp that they want to put things on. So, even though you get your manuscript as polished as you possibly can before you ever get to this point, everyone is going to have their thoughts on where it should go next. So they want to make sure, it's very important to be on the same page as your agent about where you want that book to go. So this is a really, when I got Carly's revise and resubmit, I was really excited about her thoughts about what eventually became Losing the Light, and I made those edits, sent them back to her. She'd offered representation and I accepted right away. I was very excited to work with her by that point because I knew she had a great editorial eye. So when you have some interest cooking, when some people are asking for the manuscript or looking at it, if you're working on some revisions for someone, this is actually a good time to break that 1 month rule and let other agents know that you have some interest. It's a good opportunity for you to kind of nudge them, and it's a good opportunity for them to know to put this book at the top of their list if they're interested. So that's a fully appropriate time to get in touch with people that you've queried. And it's also a good time to just sort of slow that process down. This is, if you have some interest from 1 or 2 agents, I would say, don't be sending out just new fresh query letters and sort of continuing to do that. So just, take a beat. So, don't be worried if this process takes a really long time. For most of us, it does. It took me many years to finally, hire an agent that I sold a book with. So it definitely is, a waiting game, and its tenacity is kind of the name of the game. I think if during this period you're getting a lot of form rejections, a lot of quick no's, then it might be time to take another look at the manuscript, see if there's anything that you can tighten up, and look at your query letter and see if it's really doing the work that you need it to, and just kind of take another look at what might be in your way. If you are getting feedback from agents, again, that's a great sign that you're on the right track, so feel good about that. And if there's anything that keeps popping up in those letters, if everyone says they have a problem with the pacing, if everyone says something about the main character, definitely take that under advisement. And don't get discouraged. This is a really difficult part of the process. There's a lot of emotional highs and lows, but this is, this is where a lot of people drop off for that reason. So hang in there, and don't get too down. So that's the query process. The next video, I'm going to talk about what questions to ask an agent that you're considering hiring.